Hi, Franz here. Just a quick backgrounder on how to use the multilingual setup inside of concrete5 version 7. All this ships with the core is free and ready for you to use. There are some enterprise extensions that make it easier to deal with for a large team, but we're just setting up a trial on our trial services here with the general stuff, and I log in. We should be able to see. There we go. Standard concrete5 install. Now, the way we deal with multilingual sites in concrete5 is we create a tree for each language. This lets us maintain relationships between the different pages, so you can jump between the contact page in each language. But it also gives you a lot of flexibility. So if you decide that one language doesn't have all the features that another one does, you're not stuck writing a bunch of if statements in code. You've got a different tree. So the first thing that we need to do is kind of rearrange our site a little bit in preparation for that. So I'm going to go to the full site map, and I'm going to add a page for the English tree. Just call it English. I like to change the URL slug to just be en. And you'll have to remake the homepage layout with this. So it's a little bit of a step backwards. You're going to have to rebuild that homepage, but we're just going to try to blaze through this quickly for this is how it works purposes. So I am now moving all of the pages that were just underneath home into the English node. Just do that. Shouldn't take but a moment. Okay, now we've got our home, and inside of that we have English. We're going to want to make a couple of other language pages. Call Spanish that. Hey, blank page, you're supposed to go in here. There you go, buddy. Okay, we'll close English. Let's add another one. German. D. Okay, so now we've got 3 different language nodes that we'd like 3 different trees under. We've got the site built out underneath English, although we do need to update the home page, but we'll just pretend that we did that. And the question becomes, well, so what? You just moved all your sites down, made a bunch of different trees. Anyone can do that. Well, you need to come over into Systems and Settings and find this multilingual stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up the multilingual, so concrete5 knows that, hey, you are running this in multiple languages. And then we're going to copy the site tree out a little bit. So step 1, let's set up some languages. So we're going to tell concrete5 that, yeah, this English page is in fact for English. And I can pick English from the list. This is the list of languages. Languages and countries are not always the same. They speak English in many places, but not always like we do here in the States, y'all. And there you go. There's English. But we set up some other ones as well. So let's say here's Spanish. As soon as I learn to spell, I'll be able to find Spanish. There we are. And I'll just say that's Mexico, Mexican Spanish. And what did we say? German? Yeah, German. Is not Gaelic, but German. And that is suggested Germany. Gotcha. Add that content section. So now the site knows, look, we've got 3 different languages pointing at these 3 different pages that you made. Cool story. You need to scroll down a little bit here on the multilingual setup page and set up some defaults. So concrete5 wants to have a default language to run the site in. It'll serve it up in this language if it doesn't know better. And for the sake of me, it's going to be English today, because that's the language I speak. We will try to detect what language your browser is using and automatically redirect to that. And we can point you to the home page. We can save that default. You can also configure this so different users can kind of save which one they want their user profile to be versus it just being set for the whole session. All right, so if I save these settings, we have now set up these 3 different languages, and that's cool and all, but we haven't actually built out anything for Spanish and German. So the next step here is assuming that we have our English tree pretty much the way we want it, and that's how I would build one of these sites out. I would start by saying, well, let's get one tree healthy. Let's get all the category pages and page lists and everything kind of built out the way we like them. And we're going to just pretend that we've done that in English. And now we're going to copy languages. So we can say, I want to copy the whole locale tree from English to Spanish. Do it. And this will blaze through in a queue engine copying the stuff. Now, if we jump back over to the sitemap, you will see I've got the English. These are the ones we moved manually. But I've also got Spanish. And if I go, you see these trees match each other. And if I go to visit services, we'll come back to this in a second. But you can see there's now this additional flag icon up in the toolbar. And this guy knows actually that, look, this services page is mapped in Spanish over here. You can jump over there and quickly get there. All of the content is still English because all we do is copy the pages. But we can see that we are in the Mexican Spanish section of the site. And we can now pop the page in edit mode and start translating all these blocks to Spanish as needed. And, if this was a big header image, you might not need to translate it. It's just an image. But if this is text, you want to translate it, translate you go. So, back on the services page for English, if I bring up this toolbar, you can see it is mapped in Spanish, but there is no page for this page in German. From the toolbar here, you can actually make that page. So you can say, look, we want to either map an existing page. Hey, we've already made services, we just never created a relationship between them, so this will give us the page picker. Or in this case, we haven't made any pages over there in German, so let's just go ahead and create the page. It makes the page for us, it copies the current content over. I now can jump to German, and I can start translating this to German. Okay. If I come back in to Systems and Settings, and I go to the page report, this really cool little interface here will let me compare one language to another. This shows me all the various mapping. So we can see here in this list that our English blog is mapped to our Spanish blog because we copied that whole tree out earlier, but nothing happened to German. We can see somewhere down here, I think, that we did copy one of them over. Didn't we do services? Yeah, so services is not being shown because this is the missing page report. If I change it to all pages and search, there we go. So services we made manually in German, so it's mapped. We could unmap it, point it to a new spot, and we can go through each one of these and just make the parts of the tree that we want. Maybe we're only cherry picking some stuff out. We can also just ignore, say, look, I'm never going to make a blank page in German. Much too organized over there to do that. And we can also do things like say, you know what, I'm never going to have a blog in German. I just want to map that to the contact page. Someone goes on blog and they hit German from either English or Spanish. Just take them to the contact page because we're not going to have one. And so you can maintain those relationships between the pages and the trees between the language, but the tree doesn't have to be exactly the same. You can run the Chinese tree doesn't have to have a press room. The German product area doesn't have to have all the same products as the English one, but they can still relate. Other tidbits you should know: when you turn on multilingual, you will see that stacks and global areas are now multilingual as well. So you have the same stack, but it comes in different languages, which means that you'll have to update these footer guys. Right? You'll find that there's you got some work to do in kind of making all these blocks show up in the right way. You will also have to update your navigations to point to the second level in the tree for that that top level nav. The auto nav is defaults to just show everything underneath home, but now that's English, Spanish, German. So you'll need to change those around. And you will also find on here we go on the site. So I would change this to be not at the top level, but at the second. Back to normal. And I might also want to add the language switcher block. This guy gives the public the same interface that you're getting up here with the flag. So, and you can skin this different ways. But if I want to change to Spanish, I can now use this and it'll jump me over to the Spanish page. So I'd have to add it in the global areas for those languages. And that is how the multilingual support works inside of Concrete 5 version 7.